Hello, I'm the Doctor.
Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. This is episode 13, yay! Hope you guys have been okay. Apologies for me not being around for the last few weeks. I've been really busy work-wise, and then I got really sick, so sorry about that. Not nice. All bunged up, gurgly. So I'm still not 100%, so I might sound a little bit coldy and stuff, but yeah, bear with me, we should be cool. Hope you guys have been enjoying Series 8 so far, and Mr. Capaldi's been very cool. I've got a review of Time Heist coming up later on, after we've reviewed some of the news and stuff like that, so let's get into it. So, as I said, I hope you guys have all been fine and well, and you're enjoying Doctor Who on our TV screens once again. I don't know about you, but I'm really enjoying Mr. Capaldi. Wow, really enjoying his mannerisms already, really settling into how his Doctor is going to be, and I'm really settling into his overall vibe, if you like. It's very, very cool, which I'm sure you guys are. The reviews have been, well, I think all of them have been really positive for Mr. Capaldi. So whatever you're doing, good sir, continue to do so. Continue to give us a very, very good Doctor. And I really like the way he fuses some of the classic era stuff in with a very modern Doctor. He's kind of an old soul, you know what I mean? He's got a very mature, experienced, knowledgeable, wise kind of feel about him. But he's also got this kind of Tom Bakery, Patrick Troughton-y kind of weird vibe about him sometimes as well, which I'm really liking. So yeah, really enjoying Doctor Who at the moment. But let's get into the news. First up, we have a couple of box sets being released by the BBC. There is a box set which is the David Tennant special stuff, which has been, I think it's been around in the US for maybe a year or so now, or just under a year. And essentially, it's just all of the episodes that David Tennant has been in one set, in a nice big box, nice packaging, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's already been. So this is the DVD. There's no Blu-ray because, for the most part, David Tennant's era. I think for the first, I think series 2 to 4, 2, 3, 4. I think some of them were done in high def, but they were certainly released initially just on DVD in standard definition, and it was only the specials. You know, he did those 4 specials after series 4. They were released on Blu-ray. I've got that. That's very cool, and they look pretty good in HD. But there was a box set released recently. Well, I say recently. There was a box set released last year, which is every series of Doctor Who, I believe. I think it's 1 through to 7 or 1 through to 6, all on Blu-ray. But don't be fooled by the Blu-ray high def badge on the first 4 series of that, because they're just upscaled versions. So it's with this one, they haven't gone down that road. I think it's just a release to say, you know, it's been out in the US for a while, so you know the UK guys can get that. So yeah, every episode that David Tennant has done, and the 4 specials, plus it's got some extras on there and other bits and pieces. It looks quite cool. If somebody asked me the other day, you know, would I be getting this, and you know what I felt about it, and it does look very good. It does look good. The only thing is, if you've been collecting the box sets of DVDs, you know, over the years, there really isn't any advantage to you buying this, other than it's just if you're a massive David Tennant Doctor Who fan, you really love his era. And don't get me wrong, like I've said before, David Tennant is my Doctor. However, I'm not going to part with, you know, cash to buy this box set, because I already own them in separate box sets. And I'm not going to go out and buy the big Blu-ray box set, because the first 4 series of that, you know, they're all just upscaled anyway, so they're not going to look true. I mean, they look okay. I've seen a few of them. They look okay, but they're just upscale. However, if you've recently got into Doctor Who and you really like the David Tennant era, then this might be a purchase for you. This has got everything there that you would, everything for the discerning Tennant fan. Go if you've not been collecting, the DVDs, or you've maybe just got the odd one or two, and you want to start, this might be an option for you. However, if you want to start collecting Doctor Who DVDs and all the series and stuff like that, I would strongly recommend just buying each individual box set, because they are pretty cheap nowadays. You can pick up, certainly Series 1, I think I saw that for £12 somewhere, or even £10 somewhere. I think it was in HMV months ago. And even if you shop around online, you can certainly get the first five series of Doctor Who pretty cheap on DVD. So if you're going to start getting into that and collecting for yourself, then do that. Unless you're a massive Tennant fan, then get this. Whatever you want. I'm not here to judge, not here to tell you what to do, but I wouldn't. But you can. Moving on. The next box set that's available is, which is a high-def Blu-ray box set, is this Matt Smith. The Matt Smith Blu-ray box set, which is going to be released in the US. The David Tennant box set, by the way, is available now. You can go onto the BBC Shop website and grab that in the UK. And I believe the guys over in the US, you can still get that your end anyway. So this new Matt Smith one, this is all of Matt Smith in the same kind of ilk with the Tennant one. The Matt Smith one is the same deal. You get all of his episodes from the series, every series that he did, plus you get the specials, like the Christmas ones and all that kind of stuff. And there's extra features. I think they've put some stuff on there like the proms, some other bits and pieces. But this is the Blu-ray set, so this is high def. And I know that from the Matt Smith era, from Series 5 onwards, that is in true HD. So the BBC, they started filming everything in HD, so that is a high-def picture. And my same feelings apply to this as I did for the Tennant one. If you're really into this stuff and you really like your Matt Smith era and you haven't got any there, this might be an option for you. It kind of makes Chris Eccleston feel a bit lonely out on his own, don't you feel? Because if you were to pick up the Tennant box set and this new Matt Smith box set, that's great. You've got, pretty much, since Who came back in 2005, you've pretty much got everything there in one shot. But you've got just Eccleston out on his own with one series. But as I said, you can pick that up really cheap now, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. So the Matt Smith box set, every episode that he's done, every series, blah, 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 that is out on November the 4th over in the US. And I imagine in the UK, that'll be available in probably 2016, I would say. It's probably going to be over there. You guys in the US are probably going to enjoy that for about a year, maybe a bit longer, and then they'll release it over here. It's a weird thing because the same thing happened with An Adventure in Space and Time, where it was filmed in HD in the UK, I'm not sure if it was a Wales thing, BBC Wales, like they do with the series, but it was all done here in the UK, a proper British show, done, taxpayers' money, all that stuff, and then they didn't release it here in high def. Now, I'm not bitching, I'm not moaning, don't get me wrong, but it seems to be that that's the way to do things at the moment, according to the BBC, where, we're going to hype up all of this stuff here for the UK fans. We're going to get you all involved. You can come and do the Doctor Who experience. We'll let you come and take photos and get autographs when they're filming out in Cardiff and all that stuff. And we're going to take your money, the BBC, we're going to take your license fee and all that stuff. And then when it comes to releasing the media, you can't have it. But we can release it in the US though. How about that? Anyway, I'm not moaning. I'm not bitching. Main reason I'm not moaning is because I own these box sets already, so I'm not going to be purchasing these. But if you're in the US and you're a Matt Smith fan and you haven't got any of the Doctor Who stuff yet, go and pick it up. And when it does arrive in the UK, same deal applies. So there, 2 box sets, one in the UK, one in the US. I'll leave it up to you whether you get them or not. Let me know if you're interested. Just fire me a tweet at Big Blue Box PCast. Just let me know if you're going to be picking these up, or if you feel that they're a good thing, or if they're not a good thing, whatever. Yeah. Next bit of news. We've got some casting confirmations for the Christmas special. Before I move on to the casting confirmations, I think it's all but done deal that this is going to go live on Christmas Day. Go live? That's not the right term. Nothing's going to go live on Christmas Day. This is going to be broadcast on Christmas Day for us, which I absolutely love. Although some of the Christmas specials over the years haven't been amazing, haven't been the most amazing Doctor Who shows that we've seen, there is still something really, really nice about it being really dark and cold outside. You're indoors, cup of tea, blanket over, Doctor Who on the TV. There's something very cool about that. So that's going to be it's pretty much confirmed unofficially that it is going to broadcast on Christmas Day, but until that's officially confirmed, that's kind of 99% true. But yeah, it'll be out on Christmas Day. Casting. Michael Troughton is kind of getting back into acting now. Those of you not in the know, Michael Troughton is the son of Patrick Troughton. And he's kind of stepped away from the cameras for a while, but now he's getting back into it. So what better way to get back into it than, jumping on Who? So he's going to be in that. We've got Coronation Street's Natalie Gamede. She's going to be in it. Faye Marseille and Nathan McMullen. Those guys are in it. But most cool of all is Mr. Nick Frost is making an appearance. Nick Frost, obviously, kind of the other half to the comedy duo from things like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Paul, and all that kind of stuff. He's always knocking around with Simon Pegg. Those two have wrote some of the best British comedy over the years, and he's a fabulous actor as well. You've probably seen him in movies mainly with Simon Pegg, but he's a really, really good drama actor as well. He's not just a funny man. He really is a great actor, and he's been in some other cool stuff, kind of more smaller indie type of stuff, and he's really, really good. So I'm really looking forward to him in this episode. I love Nick Frost. He's very, very, don't get me wrong, he is predominantly a funny guy. He's a comedy actor, first and foremost, but I'm really looking forward to and interested to see what he brings to Doctor Who, because I'm assuming they're not going to be he's not there to provide comic relief. I'm assuming he's going to be there for, something other than that. So Christmas special should be going out on Christmas Day. Don't see why not. And we've got some really cool people lined up for that so far. Last bit of news. If you're into your Doctor Who soundtracks, especially from the classic era, there's going to be another one from the McCoy era, which is Ghostlight. And that is going out on vinyl, which is very, very cool. Those of you that follow me outside of this podcast will know that on my own personal blog and on my own personal Twitter, you would have seen that over the last couple of months, I myself have recently got into vinyl. I picked up a new turntable recently. And I just absolutely love vinyl. And I'm really into movie soundtracks as well on vinyl. They just sound just awesome. And I have picked up one of the Doctor Who soundtracks as well. Those of you who know of a company called Silver Screen Records, you can hit those guys up on Twitter or jump over to the website. They do a lot of Doctor Who soundtracks and stuff. And interesting story, I went onto their website after I picked up my turntable just to see what they had in terms of Doctor Who, and they had the first two series of Doctor Who on vinyl, which I thought was really cool. And I was on the site and it said, right, there's only one left in stock and blah, blah, blah. But it turns out that this has actually been in stock for over a year, and they hadn't removed one of the dates on the website. So it did say something about August. It was up for pre-order was in August or something, and there was only one left in stock. But it turns out that was last year that you could pre-order it. So anyway, I nabbed the last one. So I tweeted those guys and I was like, look, I want to order this, but, I just want to make sure you've got one left in stock. Because it says, there's the pre-orders are pretty much sold out sort of thing. And they said, yeah, we've got one left. You can have it. So that was great. Those guys are really good customer service from those guys. they tweeted me back really quickly. They let me know that when it was being dispatched, and they dispatched it really quickly as well. They sent it out within, I must have ordered it literally lunchtime, around 12 o'clock, and by 12:30 I had a dispatch confirmation. So those guys are really good. Just give them a search, Silver Screen Records. They just do Doctor Who. They do all sorts of different soundtracks and movie themes and that kind of stuff. But I'm really glad to see more soundtracks coming to vinyl, and especially Doctor Who. And so this is for the story Ghostlight from Sylvester McCoy. And just to give you a quick rundown, the kind of statement that they've released. So this is a newly remastered release that presents the score in the story order and is compiled from new transfers of the original analog stereo master tapes. So consecutive cues have been combined into longer tracks. So it's a particular delight to hear the music on vinyl. It was some of the last work I mixed to analog quarter-inch tape before digital took over, and suits the medium really well. It also allows me to dedicate a side to each episode, keeping the cliffhangers and reprises intact. Plus the original demo version of episode 1 is on side 4. So basically what they're saying there is they've combined some of the tracks together so that, because this is a 4-part story, it enables you to, when you've put like side A down, everything you listen to on side A is all, episode 1 start to finish and so on. So that's very cool. And that's going to be out in October. So if you jump over to the Silver Screen Record, if this sounds like your cup of tea, on the 13th of October, you'll be able to order that. And I can guarantee it will sound amazing on vinyl. Some of the vinyl that I've picked up, which was from the like analog, before digital was like the main way of mixing down music to be released. If you find any soundtracks on vinyl that were done in analog, they sound so good. Honestly, they sound so good on vinyl. And you can also, I think you can pick up, you can get the Caves of Androzani from Silver Screen on vinyl as well. And that sounds awesome. So even though these soundtracks, they sound a bit kind of electronic in a way, like they've got digital drums and all that kind of stuff, they do sound very good. So that it's worth picking up, especially if you're into vinyl and you're into Doctor Who. This is a match made in heaven. It sounds very cool. So that is going to wrap up the news. And now let's get into our review of Time Heist.
It's just a phone, Clara. Nothing happens when you answer the phone.
Doctor!
Don't touch it!
Where are we? How did we get here?
Who are you? Sorry, what's going on? I don't understand.
What is that thing?
It's a memory worm.
What happened to your face?
Delete your memories.
Did you see her face? How did I get here?
The same way we all did. But we've all forgotten.
And who are you?
I am the Doctor, a Time Lord from Gallifrey. I've agreed to this memory wipe of my own free will.
I am Clara Oswald, human. I've agreed to this memory wipe of my own free will. Do I really have to touch that worm thing?
Yes, you do. And change your shoes. You're next, Si.
I'm Sai, augmented human. I have agreed to this memory wipe of my own free will.
I am Sabra, mutant human. I've agreed to this memory wipe of my own free will.
Time Heist. So, kind of a mixed bag on this one. Not from my point of view. I thought it was very cool. I just want to go out there first of all and say that. But kind of a mixed bag from everyone overall, really. It's not... Yeah, it kind of exploded on Twitter. As soon as I watched it when it aired on last Saturday, as I usually do, just to see what the fan reaction is, I jump on Twitter, see what everyone's saying about it. And it really was a mixed bag for the first time. This series, it's really been a mixed bag. We've had some negative reviews from some of them, but for the most part, this series and Peter Capaldi and each individual episode has been, for the most part, reviewed very, very well, and people seem to be liking the show thus far. But this one was the one for me that kind of really split people down the middle. I saw a lot of tweets with people saying, this is the first clanger of this series, and we hope that this is the only. I saw a tweet saying, let's hope this is the only bad episode in this series, and lots of people not really feeling this one. And it's for me. I mean, just before we get into the details about it, I thought it was quite cool. I didn't have a massive problem with it. What I mean by that is sometimes with certain episodes, all it takes is one thing to spoil it, or all it takes is one person or one huge kind of plot hole to kind of ruin the story. And I didn't really feel that with this one. It was strange because I didn't really have a big problem with it, and there was nothing within the episode really that kind of let it down for me. I thought it was okay on every level, and it's kind of, that's the only way I can describe it really, because with other episodes from previous Doctors, you can see that, there's, the Doctor was fantastic and that was good, but, the monster was just terrible and that was bad. And so there wasn't anything like that. There wasn't any one thing that kind of brought me down and made me, think, oh my God, this is terrible. It was all to an acceptable level, is the only way I can kind of describe it. So the story overall, I think it was blindingly obvious from very early on that the Doctor was the architect. I thought, if you had to wait until the end to be told that, then maybe have your Weetabix in the morning. So I thought, a lot of people did say that as well. It was very obvious very early on, and I'm not sure if that was an intentional thing by the writers. I think sometimes writers can have a habit of not really giving Doctor Who fans, much credit. Not much the same way that they can go right the other way sometimes. Some of the Stephen Moffat episodes from a couple of years ago are just crazy timey-wimey, and you really have to concentrate on what's going on to get it. Whereas sometimes they go the other way, and they like to draw you a map, if you like, draw you a picture of what's going on. And I think that's what's happened here. It was very much a situation of, this is the story, this is the setup, and we're gonna hold your hand all the way through it. And that was okay for me. It was an enjoyable episode from that perspective. So, the story, and the whole thing about answering the telephone and, the Doctor speaking, at the beginning, and you hear them all, taking on the challenge, if you like, and all that kind of stuff. That was okay. It was kind of obvious. It was kind of, very simplistic, the way they set the story up. And then as the story progressed, you kind of knew what was coming. You kind of knew what was around the corner, which didn't make it any less enjoyable. But I just think that they tried to incorporate a twist towards the end, which didn't really come because you already knew it was there. So right at the end, when you knew that the Doctor had set the whole thing up, because it was Karabraxos that was, phoning her at the end. You kind of knew that as soon as you saw her. As soon as when you knew it was the Doctor who set the whole thing up anyway. You saw that coming. And then near the end, when Miss Dale Fox was leaving, I thought that they made it overly obvious that the Doctor wanted her to call him. They kind of strung that bit out, unnecessarily, I thought, so that the viewers knew that it was going to be her asking him to do this. So the whole, that's in a nutshell. The story was very simplistic, very predictable, but it didn't really make it any less enjoyable for me. I thought it was quite cool. Before I get on to the Doctor and Clara, I thought the support cast were quite cool. Sai and Sabra, I thought they were quite cool. They weren't quite rebel enough for me. I thought that they were going to be. I thought they were going to be a bit tougher, a bit more of a. What's the word? A bit more fire in their bellies. I thought they were going to be the ones that were going to cause a bit more trouble for Miss Delphox, and it was okay though. They were quite cool, and I like the chemistry between those and the Doctor as well. I thought that worked quite well, and their characters overall. Yeah, they were. I'm hoping that we'll get around to see those again in the future. There was a point where this episode did prove me wrong, however. There's in the episode where when we lose the two of them, I thought that they died. Well, not died, but I thought that they had been transported and we wouldn't see them again. And I thought that they would pop up at the end in a garden somewhere with Missy, because I kind of had this thing, well, is this going to be another one where, people who have vanished, while being involved with the Doctor, they seem to end up with Missy in this promised land or netherworld, whatever you want to call it. So I thought that was going to happen, but they proved me wrong. We didn't see that. They actually turned up, at the end, and that was quite cool. So those guys were pretty good. The monster, if you can call it a monster, the Teller, I thought this was, again, I just thought this was a bit predictable. I thought this was a little bit, I thought this monster, this Teller, I thought that he was just used as a plot device. We didn't really get to know much about, this creature as a, other than it turns out he's just been pining for his missus the whole time. But, we didn't really find out much about this creature, their race, anything at all. It was just there to serve certain scenes within the episode, really. And he looked okay, looked pretty good as far as Doctor Who monsters go. The makeup's normally pretty good these days. And, I found it a bit disappointing at the beginning where Dr. Clara and Sai and Sabre are in the bank already, and the teller's walking through, and he's kind of trying to detect guilt, if you like, in this whole crowd of people. And I found that a bit disappointing because he seemed to target one guy out of a huge crowd of people. However, the four people in that room, absolutely dripping guilt out of their cells, which is the Doctor, Clara, Sai and Sabre, all standing together as a massive collective of guilt, and the teller just doesn't pick up on any of it whatsoever. I found that a little bit meh. But again, nothing that really took me away from the episode in terms of enjoyment. Moving on to Clara, again, I thought Clara was really good. She's been very, very good this series. I spoke about this on the very first review that I did of episode 1, Deep Breath. We spoke about how good Clara was, and she hasn't disappointed really throughout this entire series so far. She's hit all the right beats, if you like. She's very direct. She's very good at interacting with Peter Capaldi and the Doctor in terms of characters. It's very, very good. The only one episode that she wasn't at her best, I don't think, was Robot of Sherwood. But then, there wasn't anything particularly bad about her. She was just not, it just wasn't a very strong performance. And maybe that's not her fault. I thought the script was a bit weak for her in that episode. However, for the most part, very, very good. And this one, just continued that really. So Clara, really, really, really good. The voice of reason, again, for the Doctor, and kind of the doing her companion bit, which is important because mostly we've seen, however, I'm going to come on to this in a second, but, for the most part, we've seen Clara kind of dip in and out of this companion role, if you like, the typical role of the companion. But I think at the moment she really is playing that part well, because now this is a kind of rebooted Doctor and a proper regeneration of this character. Her role has had to adjust slightly for that, and she's really taken on that companion role in her stride. But there is one thing that I'm hoping that they don't do too often, which is I've kind of seen in every episode so far, and that is relying on Clara to kind of save the day indirectly. And what I mean by that is, in the first episode, you can kind of forgive it, and possibly even the second one as well, because as we know from previous regeneration episodes and regeneration stories, especially the first one, the Doctor is very disorientated and he doesn't really know what's going on. He's all over the place. And it really is down to the people around him to steer him in the right direction, to get him back up and running ASAP. And, Clara really had to take the reins in Deep Breath and kind of save the day. And almost to an extent, in episode 2, she kind of did the same. And it seems to be in each episode now, the Doctor's got to a point where he's kind of stuck a little bit, or he's about to do something that could potentially be, damaging. And it's Clara that's been, stepping in to save the day. And that's cool. I don't mind that. And like I said earlier, she's kind of been the voice of reason for the most part. And I don't want it to be every episode. It's a case of, the Doctor saves the day up to a point, is about to make a mistake, Clara jumps in and saves the day, and now the Doctor, goes on and does the right thing. I kind of would like it now that I would kind of like that transition, that the Doctor is now going to really, be the guy to handle business and save the day. And, I not every episode, it just seems to me at the moment that Clara is the one that's making all the right decisions at the right time. And, kind of, the Doctor, we're in episode, was it episode 4, 5 now? And he should be, handling stuff now. So Clara, like I said, really, really cool. I really like how her character's progressed in this series. Slightly different to how she's been previously, and I really like her chemistry. Jenna Coleman's chemistry with Peter Capaldi, which leads us nicely on to Mr. Capaldi, and another cracking episode from him. I'm gonna put some chips on the table now, and I'm gonna say that I don't think we're gonna have a bad episode from him. I really don't. There's been a few episodes in the past where he's been. Sorry, we've had a few Doctors in the past where some of their episodes have been not their strongest, really. I mean, overall, I think Doctor Who has been cast very, very well. It's one of the few shows where the leading person has been cast pretty much spot on, successfully since it came back. And, I'm not going to comment on previous Doctors from the classic era, but, Eccleston, Tennant, Smith and now Capaldi have all been just brilliant. However, those previous Doctors, they have had episodes where they've not quite hit the mark, or due to some other thing going on within the episode, they haven't quite connected and they haven't quite got there. With Mr. Capaldi so far in Series 8, I haven't seen that so far. There's been like the odd little bits, tiny little bits where I think, okay, but for the most part, he's just been fantastic. And it's one of those things where it was hyped up for, so much before Deep Breath, and everyone was wondering, what's he going to be like, and it was one of those things where just his look, just the way he carries himself, just the way he looks, and if you've seen him in other things as well, just the way he's just so intense and so good at what he does. People were saying, he's going to be a great Doctor. He's going to be fantastic, and he hasn't disappointed. So another great episode from him. I really like how this Doctor has been written as well. He's got that perfect mix of, grumpiness, comedy, wit. He's got that kind. I mean, sometimes he can be a bit strong, but I feel that that's needed right now. I think that we need something. We need that in our Doctor right now. We need something that's going to be completely different to the previous Doctors. And he does have these little comedy bits as well, like deep emotional scene. Like in Time Heist, the bit where the teller is actually reading his mind, and he's and he's saying like, there's a lot of memories in here, and it's quite a gripping scene, and he comes out with these little witty one-liners, such as,
Piggies. No! Let it take me! Let it beat me! It's the only way!
It will kill you!
What have I told you about pessimism? That's it. That's it. There's so many memories in here. Feast on them. Tuck in. Big scarf. Bow tie. Bit embarrassing. What do you think, the new look? I was hoping for minimalism, but I think I came out with magician.
Really cool stuff like that. I was going for minimalism. I think I came out with magician. Big, just stuff like that. Really, really funny little quips in the middle of quite gripping emotional scenes, and I love that. And I think that's a good combination of how his Doctor is being written and just how Peter Capaldi wants this Doctor to come across. He wants that just classic Who, where, dangerous stuff is happening, people's lives are potentially in danger, but that he's silently got everything in hand because he's coming out with these little comedic moments. And I really love that about Capaldi. So yeah, I thought in this episode, I thought he was great once again. And, so Time Heist. Before we move on, Keely Hawes as Miss Delphox, or Madame Carabraxos. I thought she was a bit underused. I thought she was a bit quiet in this. If I'm honest with you, I quite liked the scenes that she was in. She was very cool, but I thought they could have done a bit more with her, and they could have made her a bit. I'm not sure where if she's going to pop up again. I'm hoping she does. I'm hoping she does make another appearance, but. I just think that they could have done a bit more with her. The episode seems a bit constrictive from her point of view, and because the episode was quite predictable, we kind of we saw where things were going with her and what was going to happen. But Keely Hawes I thought she played it very well. She's that quintessential British kind of accent. Kind of stiff upper lip, very much, head down, quite brigadierish. And, you saw the clone thing coming, as soon as it went down into the private vault and she was sitting there, it wasn't, the same Miss Delphox from upstairs sort of thing. So, you kind of saw that coming, and I just wish that they'd have made a bit more out of her story and her as a character. But, overall she was okay. And, I'm just maybe, the same as Sai and Sabre. We'll see her pop up again somewhere. But she served their purpose okay for this episode. So, an overall score, I guess, for the episode. I mean, it wasn't fantastic. It didn't keep me gripped from beginning to end. There was a few times when I didn't stop watching or start, fiddling on my phone or anything like that. It wasn't that bad, but there were a couple of times when I was flagging a little bit, and I just thought, this is getting a bit predictable now. I know what's coming, but overall, I will give this a 7, 6.5, or 7, 6.5. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I'm going to knock I was going to go with a 7 initially, but I'm going to take half a point off because I feel that they could have done a lot more with Miss Delphox, Carabraxos, whatever you want to call her. I think they could have done a bit more with her. 6.5. Just had a tweet in from Blue Seer, at blue_seer, SEER, and they put, "Hi, me again, smiley face, hello. It had everything a Doctor Who episode needs: a good riddle, an obnoxious Doctor, good companions, S in brackets, good companions, and a happy ending." So I'd say that's a positive review there. I kind of agree with that, yes. Did it have everything a Doctor Who episode needs? For the most part, yes. a decent enough riddle, I guess, if not quite simple. Great Doctor, yes, obnoxious at times, which I think is needed. Good companions, yes. Clara's very good, and a happy ending, yes. So the Teller walking off into the distance in some of the worst CG backgrounds you've seen, walking off with his mate, soulmate, companion, partner, whatever. So yes, happy ending overall. So yeah, 6.5 for Time Heist. So overall, Series 8, just want to give you guys my kind of feelings and a mini review about how the series is going so far and how Peter Capaldi is doing. I think overall it's been a really enjoyable series so far. I think there have been a couple of times where the kind of predictable Stephen Moffat thing has taken over, and I think his writing is has been really good this series, but there've just been a couple of little times where you think, oh, this is typical Moffat kind of thing, where he likes to link out to the bigger picture and kind of include things that a lot of people would deem unnecessary and stuff like that. For example, in the episode Listen, where near the end, where Clara essentially says that one day he'll come back to this barn, and it turns out it was the War Doctor, and that kind of stuff. A lot of people saying that wasn't needed. We didn't need to see that stuff, and we didn't need to be told that. Some things are just best left to your imagination, or just not, best left not said at all. So I kind of agree a little bit. I think Moffat sometimes does, and the only thing that happens with Moffat when he does that is that he can have a habit of digging himself into a plot, that he's and it gets to the point where you have to kind of sideways write your way out of it. You can't just say, probably in another 2 or 3 series, there's going to be stuff that, if he's still around, there's going to be stuff that he's going to write that's going to reference back to that, but it's not going to quite link correctly, so he has to introduce something else to kind of explain it and blah, blah, blah. So most part, he's done really well. The other writers have done very well. And I think, and also I've not really, for this episode, review of Time Heist, which was written by Stephen Thompson. Stephen Moffat is credited as a co-writer on this as well. So I'm kind of wondering whether he's too close to the scripts that are going through. Because he's executive producer on all of them anyway, so he knows, and as he's the showrunner, he's got complete visibility about what's happening. But I'm just wondering whether he's a bit too close to each script and putting his mark too firmly. And there has been a lot of talk about Stephen Moffat, whether this is going to be his last series. I don't think it will be. I think he's going to be around for at least one more. I think Series 9 could potentially be his last. I'm not sure, because he's already gone on record to say that he's got a big chunk of stuff already put down for Series 9. So I'm not sure about that. But Series 8 so far, no real big complaints. He's done a decent job. And Peter Capaldi has just been so good to watch. Really, really good. I've had no criticisms really of him. I've got no kind of really big standout problems that he poses as a Doctor. And yeah, he's just really, really good to watch. Clara, Jenna Coleman, very, very good. She has really surprised me, actually, out of everything that I was expecting to see in this series. She has been the one that has really surprised me. I've really enjoyed watching her scenes. She's really she's taken a slightly different approach to this series than the last couple, and I really enjoy watching her. There has been a lot of talk, loads and loads of talk about her leaving the show, and this could be her last last series and stuff. Please let me know if that's true. I haven't seen any official confirmation from the BBC or from Jenna Coleman, but please let me know if that, if that's true, or you've heard anything about this being her last series and so on. It would be very good if not. Really enjoying her. I understand that companions don't stick around forever, so she will be leaving us at one point. But for the most part, really enjoyed her, and the episodes so far have mostly been okay. Mostly been fine. Deep Breath, I thought was very good. I actually thought that was the that had some of the weakest points in it out of the series so far. A lot of people would say that Time Heist was the weakest and stuff like that, but I thought like some of the T-Rex stuff and just various bits and pieces with Madame Vastra and Jenny and stuff, and some other bits. I actually thought that had some of the weakest elements. Don't get me wrong, the episode as a whole was very, very good, and Capaldi was great and so on, but I thought that had some of the weakest moments. But everything else to me has been great. I mean, Listen was a great episode, really, really good. That got good reception. Robot of Sherwood, that was okay. Enjoyed the banter between the Doctor and Robin Hood, and that was quite enjoyable. Again, wasn't the greatest episode, but it was very, very cool. And so I mean, this series so far, really, really good. Really enjoying it, and I hope to see this continue. I think this is going to go down as one of the better Doctor Who series that we've had in recent years. What would be your favourite series of Doctor Who, going back from Chris Eccleston? Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is going to go down as like an immediate classic, or do you think that like possibly Matt Smith's first series was great, or David Tennant's second series, or whatever? Let me know what you guys think. I personally feel that this is going to be an instant classic, maybe wrong word, maybe not a classic, but it's going to be an instant favourite with a lot of people, mostly down to Peter Capaldi. And so Series 8, great so far. Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Moffat and Mr. Capaldi, everyone else. And that is going to wrap for episode 13. So thank you very much for joining me. Like I said at the beginning, apologies that you guys have not had an episode from me in a few weeks. Just worky stuff and sickness stuff and all that jazz. It's kind of put the kibosh on it, but I'm back in the hot seat, and it's all good. Let me know what you guys think to Series 8 so far. It'll be interesting to find out what your feelings are on it, and how you feel about Mr. Capaldi and Jenna Coleman. And what did you think about Time Heist? I thought it's been a 6.5. I thought was a reasonable score. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And hit me up on all the usual social channels. You can find me on Twitter if you just do a search for @BigBlueBoxPcast. Follow me on there and just let me know your feelings on there. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/BigBlueBoxPodcast. I will see you guys next time. Thank you once again for joining me. Enjoy The Caretaker on Saturday. I'll be back next week, hopefully with a review for that. Otherwise, enjoy yourselves and allons-y!